Hey, how's it going, everybody? And welcome into another episode of Mock Draft Monday here on the SFS channel. If you're currently watching my face cam and listening to the audio, you probably realize that it doesn't match up and it's a little bit off. That's because yesterday, Eric and I were messing around with the display again and trying to improve the visual quality of the stuff we put out for you guys. But in the process, the microphone accidentally got muted. So it's a little bit of a inconvenience to start off today's video, but if you want to fast forward to the point where things are lined back up, the microphone's turned back on, and there's no issues, it doesn't take very long. It's at the 2:15 marker of this video, so we didn't even get through 2 full rounds before I realized it, and I was working on fixing it. There's a little bit of a lapse in the draft board where some picks skip ahead 4 or 5 or so, just because I was in my recording software and I cut that footage out and I didn't have screen recorded footage of the picks being made on the board. But I'll fill you guys in. You'll be able to see that. Again, 2:15, so it wasn't a very long time frame of an issue. This is a 12-team full PPR mock draft, and we have members of the community Discord joining us today. So as always, you can go check that out in the description of today's video. We went Dalvin Cook with the first pick on the board, fairly standard. Give me the second best running back available with a great division schedule, an offense that's catered to his needs, and the volume to get the work done. He was one of the top guys in the league last season, over 25 touches per game, and he had multiple performances where he was right around that 30 touch on a game basis. So we like that pick there. The rest of the first round went a bit slow here, so as we see picks being made, I was just kind of talking in real time about the draft guide and some updates I've made to that. So you'll hear about all that when I come back. Again, we're getting close to the end of this voiceover session here. We had Alvin Kamara go off the board at the 1-3, and then we had, let's see, who was that? Derrick Henry go at the 1-4. So fairly standard, running back heavy early on, and there you see that little jump there where we get to nearly the end of the first. And with that being said, welcome back to the video. All right, boys, so we had some technical difficulties there, and I actually realized after the first round had went by and most of the second went by that I wasn't actually, my audio wasn't being recorded, and I just had this sneaking suspicion that was something that was wrong. So hopefully I can patch over some voiceover magic here and make things turn out, but here we are. So essentially we picked Dalvin Cook there in the first round, and right after that we are up here on the board with the 211 pick. So my clock winded down pretty quickly there. A lot of running backs went, so I'm glad I took advantage of having Cook available early on. And I guess we'll see what happens here. I'm thinking Justin Jefferson right now. Maybe if I get lucky, J.K. Dobbins will be available on the board for me with my next pick. But I could also see a situation where, you know what, I'm not going to chance it. Since we've got back-to-back picks on the back end there, I want to get my RB2 I feel really comfortable with. J.K. Dobbins absolutely has the potential to hit the home run ball anytime he touches it. He's so explosive. He's so talented in the open field. I just think that he'll be a player who, at the end of the day, if he doesn't hit his numbers every week, he'll still be a player that gives you very strong RB performances on a regular basis. So maybe some games when he has a lighter load, doesn't hit the home run ball, his numbers won't be so flattering. But the ceiling is what we like about J.K. Dobbins here. That's what makes him an elite fantasy pick and a very intriguing option at this spot. So there goes Darren Waller. That was an option. I'm going to guess that he did that because he probably wanted a J.K. Dobbins. I was going to, like I said, take a Justin Jefferson. There's a chance I can get him right here, though, and it looks like I'll be able to. Now I'm really glad that I went ahead and made that Dobbins pick because him taking Montgomery there tells me that that was maybe his next best player on the board. So I'm glad I didn't wait on that. That probably wouldn't have been an option for me had I waited. So I would like a Chris Carson here, but I think it's important to go out here and add some ceiling, some more ceiling. I think Dalvin Cook and J.K. Dobbins give us fantastic options in that department, but the wide receiver 1 position is still important, although it isn't as important as the RB spots, in my opinion. The positional scarcity makes it ever so crucial that you hit it early and often, and you get those guys that'll lock down that position in your starting lineups and give you those week-to-week elite numbers at the RB spot when there isn't too many guys that do that for you. I mean, there is a lot of wide receivers that do that, and I think that all the guys that went off the board ahead of Justin Jefferson will do it just as good, if not better, but he's still a player that is in that top class of production potential. and he's, 1,400 yards in his rookie season. He's dealing with a little bit of an injury right now, but he should be able to overcome that and be just fine. So we'll see who's left for us when the clock comes back to us for the fourth round pick, excuse me. So I'm not exactly sure how I'll end up patching things over in that voiceover. I'll probably end up just talking over that and letting you guys know that that was the issue in the case scenario. I'll probably just screenshot the board, and then there was a little bit of a lapse in time when I went to my recording software and missed some picks. So it'll probably just be a still picture on the screen for the first couple minutes of the episode, and then we'll get into this live updated pick, the draft board here. So basically, if you guys are new around here, we've got ourselves a community Discord channel. That is how you get involved in mock drafts like today's episode. All you got to do is go down and click the invite link in the description of today's or any video here on the channel. And then something I'm adding on here is that for those who participate in these mock drafts, these mock draft Mondays and the Saturday mock draft episodes, which is when I post these, you will have access to be on a spin the wheel drawing for a 2021 draft guide giveaway. So you see that on your screen as well. Head over to sizzlefantasy.com, just create a free account. All you need is an email, username, password, and you'll get yourself signed up for my website. That won't really do anything for you, but it will give you an account that if you were to participate in one of these mock drafts, it's first come, first serve. So all you got to do is hop on in here. You'll have the chance to be drawn as a winner, and I can give you access to that draft guide. So that's something I've poured a ton of effort into. I just released on Sunday morning my top 60 must-own players based off of my top 250 players overall on the board. So that was something I'm extremely excited to do. I did that based off of, I did my must-own players round by round for the first 20 rounds of 12-team leagues. So there's a ton of names on there. Over 25% of the picks on the board I have classified as must-own players. And I think that's fairly safe to, I think that's a good number to have, because realistically, if 1 in every 4 picks is a must-own player and a guy that gives you great lineup value and potential, that shows you that there are teams that separate themselves from the rest of the league. Not one group, not one team can capitalize on all those players, but you certainly got yourself the chance to get some of them. So taking a look at the board here, again, there's 60 of those must-own players, in addition to my top 250 big board rankings, my positional rankings, where I basically, that's how I make that big board, is that I have them separated and ranked in their position groups, and then I kind of stack that up against one another and decide, would I rather have my next best receiver at this point, my next best running back, quarterback, tight end, whatever the case may be. And then I do leave defenses and kickers off those big board rankings because I want to give you the most in-depth analysis on the positions that really matter most. And then every single one of those top 250 players, so skilled players rather, have a in-depth profile associated with them as well that you can just click on in one simple tap and get access to. So a lot of good stuff in that draft guide. Again, head over to sizzlefantasy.com, give yourself that created profile there, and then head over to the Discord and hop in one of my mock drafts here that we'll be doing for the rest of the summer. So the running back crop is pretty dried up. Travis Etienne is a name to watch. He's a really high upside pick, especially in a full PPR 12-team draft. I like that idea a little bit here, but I think I might have the chance to still grab him at the 5-2. I'd be surprised to see him go here, and I've actually never picked him in a mock. So I'm going to take my wide receiver 12 on the board right now, Amari Cooper. It's great value at the late end of the 4th, and I think that for a player who has as much upside as he does, even with Dak having some injuries, I think he'll rebound strong from that. We'll see here. He actually was cleared for light throwing just the other day, so he should be pretty safe to go ahead and start throwing balls for the Cowboys again. But I think he'll be fine come week 1 for sure, and it sounds like he's gone full steam ahead past that leg injury. So Tyler Lockett is traditionally a name I would love to have at this spot, but the thing about the full PPR that really intrigues me about Travis Etienne here, although I do have him on my bust radar for this season as a player who has some high risk associated with him, he's my team's RB3, and I feel really confident about J.K. Dobbins and Dalvin Cook and what they bring to the table for this lineup. So I'm going to go ahead and make this pick. It's something I haven't done here on the channel yet this offseason, but there's always reasons behind why I classify a player the way I do, but I'm not going to sit here and just preach what I say as fact. There is always a counter argument, a reason that I could be wrong. And while I don't come out here and say things unless I truly believe my purpose and my explanation, my reasoning, my evidence, whatever you want to call it, behind my takes, there is always something to be said. And I think a strong counter argument in a full PPR league, and the reason I don't love him so much in standard formats or even half PPR, is I don't think he's going to be really used as a pure running back threat, but he's going to be used as more of a hybrid player. I fear for his volume in this offense, but the reports out of camp have been very good. He's a very talented player. He was my RB1 overall based off of pure talent prior to the NFL draft and having landing spots. So there's a lot of things to like about ETN, and if he is used in a heavy receiving role, that'll be all the more valuable for these PPR lineups. And who knows? Maybe he could crack 1,000 yards receiving somehow. I mean, I thought he was going to be the Kamara to Trevor Lawrence's Drew Brees, if you understand that little comp there. Picking two players, come out of the same school in college, already have some chemistry there. It could be a really nice situation, but I have my concerns as well. So that's why I'm typically not too bullish on him. At the top of the fifth, though, I think it's okay as a player who usually goes within the first 4 rounds. So my next pick would have been Tyler Lockett, but it's been the Tyler Lockett show here on the channel the last 3 weeks or so. I've been picking gross amounts of Tyler Lockett off the board to a point where you all are probably pretty sick of hearing me talk about him. So we're always trying to change things up, shuffle up the board a little bit, look at these mock drafts from a slightly different angle. It's been a while since I've picked from the 1-2. I've probably drafted from every position on the board in these 12-team leagues here this offseason. But again, always trying to make sure we've got some diverse content out there and give you guys an in-depth experience here. So looking at what our team could use here, it's past the point in the draft where I like the tight ends. Again, if you're new around here, if this is one of your first videos you're watching on the SFS channel, I typically don't love drafting an early round tight end, and I classify early round as basically anything before like round 12, 13, 14 for the tight end position, because really the only guys that I think have distinct advantages from the rest of the group are Kelsey, Waller, Pitts, Andrews, Kittle, Hawkinson. I am a big-time anti-Kyle Pitts guy. I think there's no scenario where he should be drafted before a TJ Hawkinson or a Mark Andrews here. That's the way things went today. Again, I think that's foolish because I think he has a lot of risk associated with him. But I will acknowledge his ceiling is higher than the rest of the players on the board at this spot left. So I think the tight end 6 spot is a fair rankings assessment for him. That's where I have him on my draft board. But after that, Noah Fant in the 6th round. He's got a lot of risk for a tight end that early. Dallas Goedert, same deal. Mike Gesicki. I mean, Hunter Long, the Dolphins' recent draft pick in the 2021 draft to maybe give him some competition for reps, is now injured and was carted off the field on Sunday's practice. But it's still not a perfect situation. There's a lot of mouths to feed in just the wide receiver room on that Dolphins team. So a lot of reasons that we could potentially be relatively skittish about that group. I could dip into the running back crop one more time. The receivers I liked were Deontay Johnson and Devontae Smith, both now off the board. I've been taking a lot of OBJ lately, and DJ Chark also just broke his finger. That's something to note and keep an eye on here. I was thinking about a Chase Edmonds, maybe taking 2 dart throws at pass-catching running backs and seeing if one of them can hit for me. I think I might just go Odell Beckham. I don't know how many drafts in a row it is now that I've taken him, but I do like the upside he has. I don't like his floor whatsoever. I don't think he should be higher than your team's wide receiver 3 because I don't think he's a player that you, at the end of the day, want to start every week in your lineups because there is a significant amount of risk there and is some drawbacks, some reasons that in tough matchups I'd hesitate to play him. In games where the Browns are the clear favorites, they're just going to run the ball the whole time. They're not going to have to use him. It does only take him 1, 2, 3 catches to put up a week's worth of numbers if he is the player that he once was for the Browns this season. And there goes Chase Edmonds, so we won't have the chance to pick him on the back end there. But there is also a reason to like him as well. So we'll turn around and take Chase Claypool here. This is another pick I feel good about. He dropped a ball in the Hall of Fame game, which was kind of funny. And I actually did get kind of injured in that game. I put that in quotation marks because he fell on the football, and it wasn't a true injury to be very concerned about. Obviously, anytime a player goes down, it's something it's worth noting and something to keep an eye on, but it's nothing significant. I just like Chase Claypool better than a Juju Smith-Schuster who goes the pick earlier in this offense. Better for the simple fact that he has the body type that thrives in the red zone, gives us really great touchdown production. Yes, Juju and Deontay Johnson very well could, and probably it is likely, I would argue, that they'll out-target Chase Claypool. They'll probably have more receptions than he does. But what we saw from him after the catch last season, very encouraging. What we saw from him, again, his frame is great. His speed is great. He can catch passes in contested spaces. He does have some drop issues, as do all the guys in the Steelers wideout room. I don't love the fact that he's a TikTok influencer. I think that's a big distraction for him and Juju there. But this is fantasy football, not actually trying to win games in the National Football League, so we can let that slide here and there. But yeah, this is PPR, so there is definitely value and definitely reason to start a Deontay Johnson or a Juju Smith-Schuster in your lineups. But I think there is equally as good of reasoning to start a Chase Claypool here. So moving into our 8th round picks, the quarterback crop is getting a bit thinner, but I still think it's a situation that you can feel comfortable with. I would love it if Michael Carter would fall to me. That'd probably be my instant pick. However, with, let's see here. Let's see what Michael Carter is ranked overall on the board based off ADP. Okay, so there's a chance. But with 4 people, we'll see if Reed comes back from being on auto pick. But with 4 lifetime drafters here, I just don't see a situation where Michael Carter is still available for us. So we should probably look for a backup plan. Maybe with my second pick here, the 9-2 on this little curve here on the board, I can take a quarterback. I'm not too committed to drafting one here, but it's something to think about. So that's an interesting pick, Robert Tonyan. I think that's a little early for him. I don't think I'd make that pick there. He was probably the best rated tight end on the board, but as a Packer fan, I'll be completely objective and tell you Robert Tonyan's numbers will not be as efficient as they were last year. He has to see increase in the volume department, or he will not produce tight end 3 numbers. That's crazy. He had 11 touchdowns on 52 receptions. So literally nearly 20% of his receptions were touchdowns. That's insane. That doesn't happen for anyone else. Like, it's just not sustainable production. And when you only had 59 targets on a given season, even looking at a guy like Logan Thomas, who had 110, you just feel better about the floor there. And that's why I don't like taking tight ends at this spot in the draft, because I think that Robert Tonyan's risk is equally as risky as if I were to fade and wait for, Adam Troutman down here at the 151 on a Saints roster that has no one else to catch the football for them. Jared Cook could put up numbers in this Chargers offense in the absence of Hunter Henry. Gerald Everett could play a role as maybe a Jimmy Graham-esque red zone target, and when you've got Metcalf and Lockett commanding so much attention, somebody's going to be the forgotten man. Cole Kmet, a young tight end in the Bears offense that wants to use him. So there goes Michael Carter. We're not going to have that chance to pick him there, but hopefully that paints a clear picture for why after those top 6 tight ends go, I am not concerned at all or even prioritizing to the slightest bit snatching up that type of a player for my team. Ooh, this is interesting here. I would love to get Zach Moss as my RB4 right now, but let's make sure there's no receivers. Brandon Cooks is one of my favorites. He goes off the board there at the 8-9. Great selection there. There are some receivers that I feel very comfortable with waiting on, so I maybe pulling the trigger on a running back is okay, because the receiver group, I can get Mooney as a receiver 5. The running back group is probably more of a pressing need at this point in time. So I like me some Zach Moss more than I like a David Johnson, because I think David Johnson, it's sad to say, once upon a time, the 1.1 or 1.2 draft pick, depending on personal preference between him and Le'Veon Bell, those days are long gone. He's not a Cardinal anymore. He's old. He's injury prone. What is he? He's got to be like 30 now, I think. 29. So he's entering his age 30 season just about here. So I still don't get the trade. That was such a bad move for the Texans to dump off D-Hop. Might have cost them their quarterback, too, in the grand scheme of things. But Zach Moss has reportedly been the most impressive Bills runner at every day in camp this year. I've talked about this offseason. He's underrated as a pass catcher and gives us a lot of nice value as a goal line threat. Whereas The way I see this Josh Allen extension, you're paying $258 million to your starting quarterback over the next 6 seasons. You're not going to want to use him as the team's primary battering ram on the goal line to score you those touchdowns. Use the expendable running back. Don't waste your team's franchise-altering player, the guy that gives you a chance to win a Super Bowl. Because let's be honest, Tyrod Taylor was the quarterback of this team. They were not quite the level of a team they are now, but they were still a playoff roster, and he couldn't get them past the wild card round. You get what I'm saying here? Josh Allen is what, in the elite quarterback play, is what puts NFL teams over the hump the majority of the time. The exception is if you have an all-world defense and can absolutely just put a hit on a quarterback and just not let him get the ball out of his hands like the Broncos did in Peyton Manning's final hurrah there. Then you've got a different scenario. But even still, those teams aren't winning as well. They're not doing as much as we've seen in the past. Even the Jags team that tried to duplicate that success the following year blew a lead late to Brady in the AFC title game. So we went, the point being here is that I think the Bills will wisen up and use Josh Allen in a wiser manner and not completely blow the health of their team's most valuable assets. So that's the thought behind the Zach Moss pick. Jalen Hurts at the 9-2 is one of my quarterback ones for 12-team leagues. Rushing ability, Devontae Smith, Zach Ertz, plus Dallas Goedert, whichever one's more involved, they're still going to be good safety blankets for a young quarterback. The legs are really what makes me like this pick because he's not the best passer. He's not the most accurate guy in the world, doesn't have the greatest decision-making, but he's got poise. He's got experience. He played all over the place, a lot of snaps in college, a lot of reps, a lot of opportunities to grow as a player. And hopefully if Rager can take a step forward out of the slot this year, maybe that run game can do a bit better. It's a long shot and a lot to ask of the Eagles, but if they can stay healthier, that would be a big help too. So Hurts in fantasy should be a pretty good asset here. And again, taking late round quarterbacks might just be the way to go this fantasy season. Load up the rest of your roster at positions that matter more. I might double dip into the wide receiver crop here. The question is, will my man Darnell Mooney be available? Part of me wants to. I'm trying to think back to a little conversation we had here in the Sleeper app prior to last week's mock. I think that Pop No Smoke there at the 10-12 might be a Bears fan. So I'm questioning if, as much as I've praised Darnell Mooney this offseason, given the fact that he might not have a chance to begin with, if he's been listening and knows how much I like him and how good of an asset he could be if he'll be there in the first place. But if he's a Bears fan, I see no scenario where he makes it out of there. I'm going to take the gamble here. I'm gonna take the risk on Rashad Bateman because with no Marquise Hollywood Brown, I think that gives him great opportunity to step in and become the one even sooner than we expected in this offense. And although it's not going to be a crazy pass-happy team, I still think that's an incredible role for any player to have in any offense. We've seen Jamison Crowder for the Jets be a fantasy-relevant player because he leads the team in opportunities. If you have the ball being thrown your way and you're an NFL player, you're going to make things happen. I mean, one of my best waiver wire pickups, man, I really got some glare going on there. The sun's hitting me from a weird angle if you're looking at my face cam right now. One of my best waiver wire pickups last season was Travis Fulgham for a 4 or 5 week stretch. I mean, the dude was putting up great numbers, scoring touchdowns almost every week, giving us, I think he had a 100-yard game here and there. And if he wasn't quite getting there in half PPR leagues, he had enough catches and 75, 80 yards that he was getting the job done. I mean, I had super RB-heavy teams last year, and he was coming in off the waiver wire, giving me week-saving numbers at my wide receiver spot. So just shows you how deep that position is. And yeah, there you go. Two of my favorite wide receivers, Elijah Moore and Darnell Mooney. Two of the SFS's big time sleepers for this season. Both drop off the board there. So fantastically done there by Pop No Smoke at the 10-12 and the 11-1 spots. Those players' ADPs, it looks like, are both rising right now. So it looks like the price is becoming a bit steeper at this moment in time. Where do I want to go? I'm not really thinking too hard about pairing up Devin Singletary here. I'll go Michael Pittman. Here's something I want to talk about. I haven't quite had the time to update my rankings yet for this week. That'll be coming. Don't worry. I think the last time I updated them was 4 or 5 days ago. So technically, if I hold by my word and say update it once a week, I've got a few more days to finalize that. But 2 players that'll absolutely be trending down, obviously, well, 3. Carson Wentz, and then I've got Paris Campbell and T.Y. Hilton trending down that list as well. I think Michael Pittman is the guy that steps up here and has the most value as a Colts pass catcher. I had Campbell and Hilton listed as fantasy sleepers over Pittman because I don't think Pittman does anything special. I've watched him for a year. The biggest play of the season he made was against my Packers, and all he did was catch a slant route and then just weave between blockers for 50 or so yards and score a touchdown. It was not that impressive at all. His wheels were nice. He looked fast, but I just haven't seen, you know how they say some guys have it? Like, they have that it factor. I haven't seen that for Michael Pittman so far. I haven't seen a trait that just screams must draft to me. So, whereas some of these other guys have burst over the top, they can hit the long ball. They're elites. Maybe they specialize in one route, whether it be the slants of your Odell Beckham Jr.'s or Michael Thomas's, or come back and hitch routes of a Stephon Diggs. Some guys just have one thing they do at such a good level. And I haven't seen that from Pittman yet, but I think his game is pretty complete. And when you consider the fact that I think that Campbell and Hilton are a bit more limited and reserved to deep ball plays to have competency in fantasy lineups, they're going to be so boom bust. I think that Pittman's breakout would be the thing that would keep this offense alive and give them the best chance. Sam Ehlinger is supposed to be a big arm quarterback and a player that can throw the ball downfield, but him and Jacob Eason don't have that type of accuracy that I think you need to put up those numbers. So, oh boy. Just a few rounds left here. 4 picks left on the board for me. Wait, we've got 5 picks. My bad. Yes, I haven't addressed the tight end spot yet. I'm still not, maybe I'll take Troutman here with this next pick. It'll be a slight reach, but I don't think it'll fall to me much farther than that. I do need to take a defense at some point, but again, if you've been sticking with me here on the channel, don't pick a defense until the second to last round of your draft. If you got kickers, leave that for the last round. Or if your team starts a run on the defenses and you can snatch up one of the tier 1 defensive units, then you can do so, but don't be on the back end of a defensive run and just take a team to take one. Because after you get past your Baltimore's, your Washington football teams, your Rams, your Pittsburgh Steelers, your 49ers, with those elite front sevens, then you're looking at a situation where, dang it, there goes Russell Gage. You're looking at a situation where it's just not all that advantageous for your lineup. So I don't think that at this point on the board, what I said, if you watched my league-winning fantasy advice, my best draft strategies for this season, RB heavy early. That's my strategy there. In the middle rounds of the draft, you're finding the value, plugging in players that'll give your team the best chance to win. And then in the late rounds, you're shooting for that upside. You're going for players that they might come off as reaches. You might be picking them higher than their ADP prices. But if they're your guy, go for it. If there's a legitimate case, an argument to be made for their upside, I'm going to do that in the 13th round. I'm going to wait off. I'm going to make one more pick here. We're going to go with Marvin Jones, but I will be taking Adam Troutman on that next back end because I want to square away that tight end spot. He'll be the only tight end I take in today's video. I think the upside is that good with the offense he has around him, the limited competition for targets, for reps in that offense. He should have a solid shot here. And yeah, with him going Darren Waller to 212, I think it's unlikely that he would double down and invest twice over into that tight end group. So, which is something I at least advise against. I'm not a big fan of going 2 tight ends in fantasy. I just think that if you've got your guy, you can pick up a streamer option for 1 week to fill in for him on a bye, or if he goes down to injury. And the same thing goes, if you're taking a flyer at the late rounds, the late end of the draft, if he doesn't work out, there's no point in picking an insurance policy for him. Just go out and try someone else off the waiver wires. I mean, it's a position that's so tough to find production, so just give it a shot. Throw one dart throw at the board, and if it hits, awesome. You've got the position squared away for the season. But to me, and this happened via the auto draft for Reed here, but picking tight ends back-to-back rounds is pointless because I think just Gronk can get the job done for you. Hunter Henry's not even a starter on his team. That's Jonnu Smith. And yes, they're going to run 2 tight end sets. Henry will be on the field the majority of the time. He'll probably be on the field over 50% of the reps there. But Still not something to feel excellent about. Zach Ertz here. Again, same situation as Hunter Henry. They're going to run 2 tight end sets in Philadelphia, but is he really going to be that guy for the offense? And when this team already took Kyle Pitts in the 4th round, when are you really going to be starting Zach Ertz over him? Like, he's not a flex player. You're not going to put him in your lineup even for 1 week. So I just don't understand what the advantage is of taking a player like that at this spot. So defensive run is starting now. Pretty much all the top end, the top flight groups are off the table. So I'm not going to really worry too much. I'd feel cool with the Dolphins. That's kind of been my backup defense that I go to. I shouldn't say backup defense. Again, like tight ends, please don't pick 2 defenses for your teams. It's a wasted roster spot. But the Dolphins have kind of been my second option once the Tier 1 players or the Tier 1 teams are all gone. They've got the ability, based off of scheme, to get a pass rush off. And then Xavier Howard coming back. They reworked his deal. That's squared away, figured out. I feel good about having his potential for takeaways on that offense, on that roster against other offenses back on the field. So that should be good. Again, like I said, we'll wait. Maybe I'll take them in the 15th round here, but I'm not too concerned about doing that in the 14th. I should probably figure out who I am going to take, though. Quarterbacks in their dicey 1-2. It's your call if you want to come out here and take a second QB. Maybe it's wise because I have Jalen Hurts on this team. He's not a guaranteed threat. I could take a Kirk Cousins here and feel really good about a quality backup option, but it's not a must. I would say for sure, if you're running with Prescott, Wilson, Rodgers, Jackson, Allen, Murray, Herbert, like any of these top end guys, obviously Mahomes and whatnot up there, then maybe you just stream a guy in 1 week. I would say if you're going to take a second quarterback, wait until this late stage of the draft to do so, because again, in a 1 QB league, you're not going to be starting that player more than 3 games in a given season. Tough matchups, injuries, bye weeks. It's not that I'm overlooking the second quarterback spot, and I might take Kirk Cousins here, but you know what? Why not take Jacoby Myers here? Listed as the Patriots wide receiver 1 right now on their depth chart. I think that they have to throw to somebody. There's names I like there. There's a lot of hype around N'Keal Harry in camp right now. I think players are talking a lot about the tight ends and what they're going to do for this offense, but Jacoby Myers has been the safest all-around player in this offense. He is not elite at any one given trait. He's almost Michael Pittman-esque, but a lot smaller. He actually threw a touchdown pass last year. Interesting little note. But in a PPR league, I think that with the target share he had in this offense, he might actually be quite the valuable lineup piece. So I like the idea of making this pick here. Just adding depth again. So I'm going to guess that we're going to see 1 defensive pick go off the board with the 2 picks we've got to choose from here. We'll see. I would like to walk away from this draft with Kirk Cousins and the Miami Dolphins defense. So the question becomes, do I think the Dolphins will be waiting for me at the 16-11 if I pass on them? Because I think there's a better chance that another team takes Kirk Cousins. It looks like, okay, we'll see what happens here. And he hasn't been put on auto because he's on back-to-back picks. So the draft clock expired for him there. We'll give him grace, though. So it looks like here, we've got 2 teams that need defenses after that, but then the next 5, 6 teams do not need one. So 3 defenses are going to be taken between my final pick. I would be willing to bet. I'd feel comfortable putting $10 down. I don't have anybody to actually bet against right here, but I would bet the Bills, the Browns, and the Pats would probably be the next 3 teams to be taken by the teams on the board here. Now, those teams at the end are auto-picked, so there goes the Pats defense. So it's one of them. So now I gamble. I'm going to take my chance on Kirk Cousins here. I love the Miami Dolphins defense. I picked them a lot, but I'm going to take the shot here that, okay, so we made it through one of the picks, but it has to come all the way back to me. So, Browns. There goes one of the defenses I thought would go before me. Bills, maybe the Chiefs, I would say are the two teams that I have the chance of escaping out of here with the team I want. If not, I do have a backup strategy, and I'll talk about them. Way down here, a little team called the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Chandler Jones, and before I talk about this, why do I like defenses? Certain defenses over another. You see the Cardinals are ranked very low here. I like pass rushes. Pass rushes make everything more tough for an offense, and that's how things go haywire, and you get turnovers, you get big plays, you touchdowns every once in a while off pick sixes. The Cardinals' back end isn't all that great outside of Budda Baker. They've got a couple nice pieces, but no more Pat P, and he was out of his prime anyway. So there goes my Dolphins. Hence, we're probably going to be looking at taking the Cardinals here. The reason I like them is, yes, they're older vets. They're aging, maybe not in their prime anymore, but I still think that the Cardinals' top two pass rushers, they were a top sack team in the league last year. They did lose Hassan Reddick, but they added J.J. Watt to be the next best pass rusher. They don't play the same position, but you get the point. They've got Chandler Jones, who's been one of the best pass rushers in the league, and J.J. Watt over the courses of their careers are 1 and 2 in sacks right now. So you give me a veteran team with pass rush, a player on the back end that can make some big-time plays, that'll be good enough. And maybe the Bears would be a better option here. They are pretty weak at the secondary positions as well. Khalil Mack's sack numbers have been trending down because he can't do it by himself. The Bills never went. The thing I have issues with them is that they are lacking proven pass rushers. They've took some nice young talent this year, but usually that doesn't translate immediately year one unless you're talking your Nick Bosa's, Chase Young's, those transcendent talents. I really like Greg Rousseau's raw talent for the Bills, but it's not a guarantee. Frank Clark for the Chiefs is in some serious trouble, so it's pretty much the Chandler, Chris Jones, Chandler Jones, Jesus, man. Chris Jones show on the interior for the Chiefs, so we're looking at a little bit of a different situation. So I'll take my Cardinals here. Just look over this one more time. The Broncos have a case to be made here with Miller, Chubb, and the young pieces they have in the back end. You talk about Fuller coming in, Pat Surtain. I think they've still got Bryce Callahan. They've got a couple good safeties. You know what? Now that I think about it, I do like the idea of the Cardinals defense. But as long as Miller can stay healthy, I think I might just like the Broncos more. This is not quite the no-fly zone defense, but it is a step in the right direction. I think I have more overall pieces at every level. So I'll take them there. I think they still have Shelby Harris as well, who put up some nice numbers last season. But you give me the same number and quality of pass rushers, in my opinion, as you do in Arizona. But the back-end players, Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons, Pat Surtain. We're talking a lot about defense for a fantasy video here, but I convinced myself into taking the Broncos over the Cardinals. So if you're looking for a stream defense this season, the Cardinals are a great option. They'll probably be available in your leagues. That's what I roll with in my Dynasty League right now. I think I just cut the Cardinals, though, because I was able to pick up Washington's defense in the rookie draft with all the free agents. A lot of teams didn't keep their defenses. So besides the point, quick roster recap, then we're out of here for a Monday here, back on a normal schedule. It's no longer mock draft week, so we won't have one of those every day, but we will have content coming at you 6 days a week here. So Jalen Hurts, a low-end QB1 at that spot. Dalvin Cook and J.K. Dobbins were my first two picks, giving me an elite running back room. Justin Jefferson and Amari Cooper, along with Chase Claypool and Odell Beckham Jr., are my top 4 wide receivers taken. I feel really comfortable with that in a 12-team league draft. Adam Troutman was my late sleeper tight end. I feel confident in that pick for the simple fact that there's not much investment here. If he doesn't work out, cut him, move on to the next guy on the waiver wire. I think that's how we should approach the tight end position outside of those top 6 players on the board, because I think those are the guys with the seldom given and guaranteed value at that position. So Travis Etienne, a risky high upside pick I took here, obviously a rookie out of Clemson. He's probably going to be used a lot as a pass catcher, so in a full PPR league, that's a lot of nice value. Rashad Bateman, again, I think he'll take over as the team's number 1 option sooner rather than later. Michael Pittman, solid all-around player. Marvin Jones, give me the volume of that Jags passing offense, that easy schedule, he'll be used a lot. And then Jacoby Myers might just be the top option in that Pats passing offense. So Zach Moss, a name I didn't talk about, but another back that could have some nice usage, some sleeper value. And Kirk Cousins, just being a steady option at that quarterback position. They can give us some relief games if Hurts has a tough matchup. Because honestly, you probably don't want to start Jalen Hurts against the Washington football team. So I'd feel better starting Kirk Cousins against the Packers, or I don't know. There's a lot of teams I'd rather start Kirk Cousins against if Jalen Hurts and that Eagles roster is playing a brutal matchup. So nonetheless, that'll do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Again, to get involved in Mock Draft Mondays in the future, or those Saturday mock drafts I mentioned at the beginning of today's video, head down. The link is in the description. You can take advantage of that. And again, there's draft guide giveaways going on to anyone who participates in that stuff. So thank you again. I apologize for the rough start to today's video with the technical issues, but we'll see you guys next time. It'll be shaped up for later. We had some changes going on with the display and whatnot, and then somehow my mic got muted. So yeah, it was a rough start here on a Monday, but we're moving on to Tuesday tomorrow, and we'll have some more regularly scheduled content. So I'll see you guys later. Peace out.